You want to start content creation and build your brand so that you can make money online? Well, in today's video, that is exactly what I'm going to be sharing with you, the exact step-by-step strategy that I followed and I help other people follow so that they can be able to build a powerful personal brand and make money online. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Gloria and let's get to it. If we're starting from the beginning, personal branding essentially is building a brand that is going to generally generate you revenue, but it is attached to a person. So there is that individual that we connect to through social media, through content creation, as well as what you share online that makes us want to buy from you because there's that aspect of authenticity because we already know who's behind that brand. If you're thinking about using social media to actually build your personal brand and make money online, then you need to also think about content creation strategically. That means you need to leverage content as a marketing platform, as an awareness platform, and as a way of building trust with your audience and your community. And that is essentially what we're going to discuss in the next few pointers. Now, the first thing we have to talk about is how to actually start content creation. And I would want to really go extensively on how to start content creation, but I already did a video 2 years ago talking about how to start content creation in detail, which I'm going to link above here just in case you haven't watched it. But for you, if you're meeting me for the first time, these are the three main things you're supposed to pay attention to. Now, the first thing you have to think about is your passion. And when I'm talking about passion, I'm not necessarily talking about the things that you are actively skilled in. Rather, I'm talking about the things you're interested in and the things that you can be able to learn as you continue building up your skill set or your value in corporate. So you're going to think of your passion in terms of what can I learn? What do I have interest in, as well as what do I currently have that will add on top of what I am interested in learning about. Then the next thing is going to be you figuring out what is going to be your content format. Now, here's the thing. When you're starting content creation, there are actually three content formats that you can actually get into. Now, the first one is written content, where you have to copyright the content that you're creating. Then the second media of content is going to be audio content, and that is where podcasting and video podcasting is going to come into play, because this is long form content, but essentially what you're doing is you're creating audio content and you're not necessarily showing your face, but you are communicating exactly what your value is going to be. And then the third way, which is the most famous way of creating content, is going to be video content. Now, with video content, there is short form and long form kind of content, and you really have to decide which one is going to be your starter, because you have to choose a starting point. Then after you're settled on the content formats, the next thing is going to be choosing your platforms. Now, a good rule of thumb is actually having two platforms, where you're going to have a primary platform. This is essentially the main platform you're going to have, and then there's going to be a secondary platform, which is where you're going to be redirecting traffic so that you can be able to convert the people who are actually interested in buying from you. When you're choosing your primary platform, it has to be the platform that you're going to be creating content on, and you're comfortable actually creating content on that particular platform. So you need to be really, really sure that this is the primary platform that you're choosing, and most of the time, this is going to be a social media platform when you are selecting that particular platform. And then the second platform that you're going to have is either going to be a newsletter or a website, because you are redirecting traffic to these particular people so that they can convert. So you'd either want to have their contacts, that is where an email newsletter is going to be important, or you would want to have a website, which is essentially going to be the landing page of the product that you're selling so that you can complete a sale. Next up is building your content strategy. Now, once you've decided on which platforms you're going to use, which kind of content you're going to be creating, the next thing is to actually figure out what is your strategy with the content that you're going to create. And the first thing that goes here is finding content pillars, because essentially what content pillars are supposed to do, they're supposed to guide every single content piece you're going to be creating so that it leads to the ultimate funnel, which is either landing a client or getting someone's contact, which is conversion. I would want you to use three types of content, which I am going to give you a framework for, which is called the GAP the GAP framework, whereby you are going to have content for growth. So this is content that is going to skyrocket your reach. Then you're going to have authority content, which is where you're going to be breaking down points step by step so that you can be able to explain to someone that this is what you do. They can be able to get a proven process from you that is going to essentially show them where your expertise and your mode of delivery is going to be. Then you're going to have proof content, which is essentially going to be case studies and client testimonials of the things that you've been able to actually do. So think of them as the way that you are going to convince someone on whether or not to actually trust you with your content and the thing that you're actually selling through your content. The next thing that goes here is strategic positioning so that you can be able to gain trust. Now, before we even start diving deeper into this particular point, you need to understand that people buy from people, and in order for someone to actually buy from you, they have to trust you. They have to initially put their trust in what you're saying, what you can be able to do for them, and your expertise before they even decide to give you money. Now, in order for you to be able to actually strategically position yourself for trust, you need to think about association. So these are going to be content collaborations that you're going to do with people. You also need to think about getting people behind the scenes so that they can get a feel, attach more feel about you as a person and your way of working, so that they can be able to trust that this is the process and they can be able to learn how you actually do your things. And then the third way for you to gain trust is to actually get testimonials and social proof from people who have actually taken you up on your offer and they've been able to work with you one-on-one. Now, once you've been able to think about how you're going to strategically gain people's trust, the next thing is actually building your credibility. Now, there are two ways you can actually do this. The first one is through consistency. Now, you have to come up with a content plan, a content schedule, essentially a content calendar that is going to keep you accountable on social media, on the platform that you're on, and with the content that you create. Because what people want to see is consistency, and consistency builds discipline, and discipline builds awareness, as well as people start recognizing you. Now, you need to ensure that you are very consistent on the platform that you've decided to create content on, because the more people see you, the more they are inclined to trust you. And then the second thing that you need to pay attention to is where you are redirecting traffic. Look, if you have a newsletter, then you need to start creating content that you're sending to your contacts at least twice every single month, because you need to build a deeper connection with your audience. And because you do not have a physical shop, you need to put in the effort and show up for them. That means you need to come up with a strategic way of how you're going to be writing your newsletters, how you're going to be sending out your editions to these people. And you need to ensure that you continue doing that for as long as it's possible, so that they can be able to essentially trust you. Because if you can be able to convert at least one person from your newsletter, it's going to be a snowball effect the more you continue upselling whatever product or whatever offers you're having to sell to your audience. When you redirect traffic from your social media platform to the landing page or the newsletter that you have, you need to have an offer. So let's talk about crafting your offer. Now, the first thing you need to think about is what exactly is going to be this offer, because essentially you need to have one thing that you're selling. It can either be a digital product, it can be a consultation, a coaching package, or a service that you're actually upselling to your audience, so that you can be able to work with people one-on-one and get the social proof that you actually need. So you need to decide what is the best way for you to deliver to your audience. And the first place you're gonna look into are going to be either DMs or the things that people are requesting you to do for them via the comment section. So if they're asking you for a video, if they're asking you for a tutorial, if they're asking you for a webinar, these are actually offer ideas that your audience is currently communicating to you, that this is what we want. So you're gonna create exactly what they want. Then once you've decided what your offer is going to be, the next thing you have to think about is going to be the timeline. How long is it going to take when someone purchases whatever it is you're offering for them to actually get to work with it? Whether it's a service, a product, a webinar, or a coaching practitioner or a coaching course, whatever it is. You need to think about how long it's going to take for you to actually come up with that particular initial offer. And then you have to think about how long it's going to take for your client to actually get the deliverables up to the last thing that you are planning to deliver for them. For example, if you are a copywriter and you're thinking about offering copywriting services or ghostwriting services, you need to be very clear how many copywritten content or copywritten articles are you going to do? How long are they going to wait before they receive this particular copywritten material? How long are you going to stay before you actually give them a report? And how are they going to access this copywritten content that you've actually done for them? Now let's talk about the most important point. How do you make money? Now the first thing you have to understand with making money, especially online, is that the process has to be streamlined. You don't need to have your client guessing on what's the next step. So you need to make it very, very clear on how they're actually going to purchase. Now with that out of the way, the first thing you have to decide is where exactly are you going to list out your offer? Are you going to have your own website? Are you going to have a Google form for onboarding clients? Or are you going to have a Calendly link where you can have a discovery call so that you can be able to explain to the people who are interested in your services on how they can actually book you for that service? You have to make it really, really clear and simple. What is the next step for someone who actually wants to buy? Because here's the thing, when people decide to buy something from you, it is a one-step decision, or rather it is a very quick decision, because they've already settled on purchasing from you. So your only work is to make it very, very easy for them to find the product, find how they're gonna get in touch with you, and make the payment as soon as possible. Once that's done, you need to decide on what the payment process is actually going to look like. Now, for me, essentially, I love having bank transfers because essentially it's easy for me to access my bank and it's easy for me to see when someone has actually made a payment. For you, it can be different. You might decide to have a payment processor who is going to be sending you an email and a confirmation message of when someone has paid. But essentially, you need to decide what is the payment process going to look like. The second thing you need to pay attention to when it comes to your payments is going to be, how is someone actually going to pay? Are you going to include installments, or would you want the full payment up front? Because essentially you're not with your client, you don't understand the financial struggles they're having as well as the commitment they have to buying your product. So you need to ensure that you are accommodating as many people who want your services as possible, even though they come to you and they tell you that they can be able to pay in installments. And then the third thing that you need to ensure you have a streamlined process in is your invoicing and sending of receipts. And this one is going to be essential for your taxes. Now that is it with this particular video. I'm hoping that you guys liked it and you found it helpful. If you did, then make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I really hope that you guys are finding these particular tips to be helpful. If you are, feel free to let me know in the comments section. If you feel like sticking around, I actually did do a video talking about how to streamline your client process. If you haven't watched that video yet, I am going to highly recommend it. I'm gonna link it here and I'm going to see you in that particular video.